Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. This is JB.
And I'm Chandler, and this is the Unbiased Hard Take.
And on today's Unbiased Hard Take, happy free agency, everybody, from the Unbiased Hard Take. Boy, do we have a loaded episode for you guys today. I've actually scrapped the topics that I had yesterday and replaced them pretty much with all NFL free agency news. That's how busy today has been. The Packers and Steelers also both very busy. We'll pick up with that with the Packers, JB. A lot of people probably caught my short take. I kind of broke down the Packers signing running back Josh Jacobs. However, cutting running back Aaron Jones. The Packers also playing with my emotions, signing the best safety in free agency, Xavier McKinney, to a 4-year, $68 million deal. JB, what's the thoughts on the Packers free agency to this point? They're surprisingly active.
Well, we hardly ever see the Packers do anything, like literally anything, in the free agencies. I mean, the Green Bay Packers last year and the year before, they all had AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones has been massively in being injury prone for the past few years now. Even though Josh Jacobs did come up or has a really good comeback with his injury, I don't think he really wasn't injured last year. But he had. So, I mean, that's to me, that is a good thing for the Packers that they got a healthy running back this year. But it kind of sucks because Aaron Jones is really a dynamic, good, more of a receiving back than what AJ Dillon is, because AJ Dillon is the power and Aaron Jones is the receiving back. So now you got two power backs on your guys' roster. And
AJ Dillon's a free agent.
Oh, now AJ Dillon's a free agent. I forgot about that. My fault. See, all this news and everything that's coming up, I keep forgetting who's free agency and who's not. So now with everything else, with that new news to me, I mean, it's a horrible decision, in my opinion. You shouldn't have released Aaron Jones, because you still need that running back duo, especially because Josh Jacobs really isn't a catcher. He really doesn't catch the ball. He just runs it. And I know, watching some plays, majority of the Packers offense is checkdowns and short routes. And Josh Jacobs does none of that. He powers through, and that is it. So now you got to find a cheap receiving back and have fun with that, since you almost spent over $100 million on two players today. Xavier McKinney, which is a need. You guys needed that because you guys were horrible on safeties this year or last year. So getting Xavier McKinney is a must and really good. But for this signing, since AJ Dillon is a free agent, it's a good signing, but it's also a bad signing, because I do believe just guys trying to keep up some cap space, and Aaron Jones was probably one of the main causes for that cap space. So like I said, the Packers is a good decision to sign Josh Jacobs, but it's also a bad decision to release Aaron Jones.
I 100% agree with you. I'm looking at this. My emotions have been a roller coaster today because we don't make free agent signings. If we do, we'll sign a couple role-playing players in the end of free agency to kind of shore our roster up, or when we draft and develop. That's what Green Bay does. Very much like Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's been active today. We'll talk about that later. But those are just two organizations that, let's be honest, I've been to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I plan on taking you there one day. I mean this. It looks like a small town. Someone dropped a football stadium right in the middle of it. And it looks like it doesn't belong there. There's a backyard behind the stadium. A backyard. Fencing for houses. It's a small town. Big name players don't often want to come there. We are a draft and develop organization, family organization. So to see the Packers active today is a lot of fun for me. I never thought we were going to sign Josh Jacobs. I definitely didn't think we were going to cut Aaron Jones. Because when I first seen the Josh Jacobs signing, my first thought was, oh yeah, Aaron Jones and Josh Jacob in the backfield. Best backfield duo in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And an hour later, comes by and we cut Aaron Jones. So I kind of looked into why we did it. He's a fan favorite. I'm not necessarily excited about it. But let's look at their stats. When the season ends, Aaron Jones will be 30 years old. He's past his prime. He's past his best year. Statistically, running backs don't do well 30 and past. Josh Jacobs, when the season ends, will be 26. They have 4 more prime years of Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs led the NFL in rushing yards in 2022, which is just one season ago, with 1,653. That's a lot. And yes, and even in Josh Jacobs' worst season, he still had more rushing yards than Aaron Jones did. 805 for Jacobs, 656 for Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones lit it up in the playoffs and down the stretch for us. He had a horrible first 2-3 months of the season. He finally got healthy around playoff time. We don't make the playoffs last year without Aaron Jones. He lit up Dallas. He ran through San Francisco, ran through Chicago the last game of the season. Because he also is a better receiving back than Josh Jacobs is. We need to kind of replace that because Aaron Jones is a dual threat. But I actually give this overall, now I'll give it a B minus, maybe a B. I'll be nice and say a B. I would give this an A had we kept Aaron Jones. But Josh Jacobs last year I broke this down a little bit in my short take. So if you take Jacobs' 805 rushing yards, divide it by the amount of games he played, and you times it by 17, he would have had over 1,000 rushing yards. He was on pace for, had he not missed the last 4 games of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Jones was the same way. They were both neck and neck on the rushing yards. I think what happened here is contract negotiations, which was reported out by ESPN, kind of broke down between the Packers and Aaron Jones, and because of that, they ended up releasing him. Because our GM, Brian Gutekunst, said that he was going to most definitely be back. Now, 6 weeks later, we cut him. Now, we still have Josh Jacobs, who, he actually, if you want to go by all-purpose yards, which I'm a fan of, I don't like rushing, receiving, keeping them separate. It doesn't matter how you get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if my running back has 600 rushing yards and 800 receiving yards. He's a dual threat. You want that. Because you loved Josh Jacobs last year if you combined all of his yards total. 805 rushing, 296 passing. He had 1,101 yards. You combine Aaron Jones's 656 rushing, 233 receiving. That's only 889. Jacobs had a better year last year and more touchdowns. Now, Jacobs had less than 4 yards a carry. I think that'll improve behind a Packers offensive line that's a very stable one. Even though we did cut David Bakhtiari, thank God. The Packers have been very, very, very active today. On top of that, signing safety Xavier McKinney to a 4-year, $68 million deal, like I said, who is, in my opinion, one of the best safeties in the league. Last year, he played 100% of the Giants' defensive snaps. 116 tackles, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumble recoveries, and he didn't allow a single touchdown in coverage. He's what we need. With defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley coming over, getting rid of Joe Barry, thank God, Jeff Hafley taking over now. We're getting us some needed secondary help. You can go back to my needs for the Packers, that short take I did a few weeks ago. I listed safety and corner as one of them, because the only other safety we have on the roster right now is second-year player Anthony Johnson Jr., who had some moments last year. But Rudy Ford's a free agent, Jonathan Owens is a free agent, and Darnell Savage signed with Jacksonville today. We'll probably address safety throughout the draft and whatnot, but today's a big win for the Packers. Overall, combining everything, cutting Bakhtiari, all of it, I'm going to give the overall grade an A-. I just really am not happy with Aaron Jones being cut. But it makes sense. Josh Jacobs is 4 years younger. He's 4 years younger. Same production. He's led the NFL in rushing yards in the past. When's Aaron Jones done that?
Not. He
He
never
hasn't.
did. He
Man,
hasn't.
that was a lot. He hasn't. He hasn't. And Aaron Jones is a great player. I love me some Aaron Jones. You know that. But I think this is actually a slight improvement. I just don't like our running back depth. Maybe we'll sign A.J. Dillon back. We have Patrick Taylor on the roster as well. We'll see. I mean, Emmanuel Wilson's on our roster as well. I mean, maybe one of those guys could step up. But Josh Jacobs is an outstanding running back. I can't be upset. And Xavier is worth every penny we paid him. So the Packers got better today, I think, overall. Fans just don't want to see it that way because Aaron Jones is loved among Green Bay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm looking at the free agency for the running backs. I mean, there's some pretty good receiving backs that you can possibly get. There's Clyde Edwards. I want to say Deontay Foreman is kind of a receiving back, but he's more of a power than a receiving. Zach Moss.
The Packers actually had been linked to him before free agency started, so that wouldn't surprise me.
Yep. J.K. Dobbins. I don't think he's not going to be a good one. Austin Eckler is seeing that he is probably going to sign with the Washington Commanders. He's going to take command.
He's taking command.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it, unless you guys re-sign A.J. Dillon to a minimum deal.
I would draft one. We shouldn't, in my opinion, get a second running back in free agency unless we sign A.J. Dillon back. Other than that, though, I'd say draft one and between rounds 2 and 5 or something. The Packers are a very good draft and develop organization. That's where we get all of our players. This year seems to be an exception because this is a lot of fun. This is how other fan bases feel. This is fun. I like this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how we were last year. I mean, like I said...
Yeah, but it's different. It's different this year because the Packers and Steelers are the ones signing players, though. It's a lot more fun.
It is. So much more fun. Because, I mean, like I said, ever since I knew when Ben Roethlisberger announced that he was going to retire, I already knew it's going to be a rebuilding year. And we did. And we did rebuild, and we're still rebuilding. Same thing with you when Aaron Rodgers signed with the Jets. It is going to be a rebuilding year, especially with the defense. So, and that offense has a good young receiving core, but it's a good young receiving core. But yeah, with everything else, it's a rebuilding year. It is a rebuilding year for both of us.
I don't think it is. I think we're both Super Bowl contenders. Because think about it. Last year, in a season where Pittsburgh was playing Mitch Trubisky and 3 different quarterbacks, you got exactly my point. You guys still won double-digit games and made the playoffs. The Packers, in a year where some people thought we would win 5 games. No Aaron Rodgers. What's Jordan Love going to do? All the offseason hate on Jordan Love. Youngest roster in the NFL. Legit was. We made the playoffs and won a playoff game. Packers and Steelers, I think they got a lot better in free agency, and I think last year was a rebuilding season for us. Both of us, I agree with you. But here's the scary part, JB. Our teams last year were in rebuilding mode, and we still made the playoffs. Both of us.
Yep. I mean, we would have done so much better last year if we did not start Mitch Trubisky. That still irritates the crap out of me. Like, I'm glad that dude is gone. he signed with the Buffalo Bills. It's good. Hopefully, I hope that the Bills, Josh Allen gets injured for quite a bit, for a while. You have to play Mitch Trubisky, and guess what happens? That's all I got to say.
There goes your season.
Yep, there goes
Speaking
your
of that,
season.
JB, I have great news for you because you said that it was frustrating watching Mitch Trubisky. Well, here's the good news, JB. We'll jump in topic 2. I'm flipping topic 2 and topic 3. We're going to jump into casual talk. This is like an appropriate time to do it. Because, JB, you will no longer need to see Mitch Trubisky play quarterback for you. Because the Steelers today signed quarterback Russell Wilson to a 1-year veteran minimum contract, league minimum, very cheap money. JB, what's your thoughts on Steelers country? Let's ride. Broncos. Coming over from the Broncos. What are your thoughts, JB, on Russell Wilson being a new quarterback?
I mean, am I surprised that we signed a quarterback in free agency? No, I am not surprised. Am I surprised that it's Russell Wilson? Kind of. To a 1-year deal. He's on his, I think, 13th year. I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at all the aspects of all the quarterbacks in the free agency right now. Ryan Tannehill, he's not good. Jacoby Brissett. God, I'm hungry right now. Oh, man.
Oh, you've done that before on this podcast.
Yep. Jameis Winston, he's okay. Tyrod Taylor, kind of. He's a hit or miss. Sam Darnold, no. Drew Lock,
Good backup.
no.
No.
Tyler Huntley, no.
Good backup.
Good backup, but won't give you to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely not.
Josh Dobbs. I mean, I would love to see Josh Dobbs coming back as a Steeler, but it's not going to happen. And Mason Rudolph. We still haven't signed Mason Rudolph yet. I think Mason Rudolph kind of improved or proved himself that he is a starting quarterback, and which to me, I do believe so. Because what he did for the past few games that we had, and he actually played pretty decent in the playoffs. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, I do believe. But I'm surprised we didn't sign him and Russell Wilson. So we have the three quarterbacks trying to go for a starting position. But he is a good quarterback. Russell Wilson is still a good quarterback, and you did his stats last podcast, which they're significantly better. To me, I was kind of hoping to at least get a deal for like a young quarterback, but getting Russell Wilson is kind of a good thing, especially for $1.21 million for 1 year, and which honestly, I'm really not surprised for the 1-year deal. So, I mean, if he does good this year, we might sign him for probably another 2 more years, 3 more years, and then that's it. Because he's getting paid by the Denver Broncos. So, to me,
A lot of money.
A lot of money. $39 million total. Broncos will be paying $38 million.
Ouch.
That was a dumb move by the Broncos, but whoever Russell Wilson agent is, good job. Good job. But with everything else, hopefully, with the core that we have, offensive wise, core that we have with the new offensive coordinator, I hope it's going to be a good season this year. Hopefully, Russell Wilson does not play like he played the first half of the season, which he sucked miserably. So I hope that he does not do that and everything does great for us. But like I said, I wish that we would at least got a young quarterback from another team. And I know I'm being a little harsh on it because probably I've seen quite a few Steelers fans because I've been reading a few posts and watching a few videos. Everyone is really excited about Russell Wilson signing that we actually got a quarterback. So yeah, let's hope this is a not a rebirth year, but a Super Bowl year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Once again, we'll hopefully we'll be back to the Super Bowl this year with Russell Wilson as our starting quarterback. With the new offensive coordinator, hopefully we get a better offensive line because we released almost basically all of our starters this year. Because I mean, we needed quite a few people on the offensive line. Because we released Mason Cole. We released Okafor. I mean, we need to start getting a better offensive line if we want to protect this old, I want to say old, but a very veteran quarterback. Because if we don't, he's going to get injured really quickly. Because I think he's in his year 13.
I believe so. He's 35 years old.
So yeah, he's in his 13th year in this season. So he needs a lot of protection that he can. Especially in this division that we're in. Yeah, we need a lot of protection. So hopefully we do.
You know, I know you're not super excited about the move, and probably on the minority side of Pittsburgh fans, because I've seen a lot of things. Pittsburgh fans are excited. I get it. Mason Rudolph looked good at the end of the season, but let's be honest. The Steelers were a quarterback away from a Super Bowl. Like you said, their draft status, they don't have a top pick in the draft, so they don't want to get Drake May or Caleb Williams or J.J. McCarty or any of these top quarterbacks that are floating around out there. They're not going to get any of them. So, where do you get your quarterback? Either you bring back Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and have them compete, or you go out and get Russell Wilson, because who else is there? Like you said, Ryan Tannehill and a bunch of other, like you said, the other names you said. Russell Wilson was on pace for a Hall of Fame career. And that's still possible. He's won a Super Bowl in nearly 10 years in the league. He has the stats for it, and he's been to 2 Super Bowls. But what he did in Denver hurt his legacy. But let's look at his worst season, where he got made fun of. That year 1 in Denver. That was a disaster, right?
Total disaster.
Russell Wilson, 16 touchdowns. Kenny Pickett for his career. 13 touchdowns. Russell Wilson had a better first year in Denver, and Kenny Pickett has touchdowns in his career. I ain't knocking Kenny Pickett. But let's look. Last season, which some people say that Russell Wilson was a good quarterback, not elite. Well, Russell Wilson last year, 98 QBR. Kenny Pickett's career high is 81.4. Last season, Russell Wilson over 3,000 passing yards, 26 touchdowns. Like I said, Kenny Pickett has 13 for his career. So the Steelers, who have Najee Harris, who's a elite running back, he's ran for 1,000 yards 3 years in a row. George Pickens, who's a top receiver in the NFL, he's a 1,000-yard receiver too. So you put these great weapons around a quarterback, Russell Wilson doesn't have to save the day anymore. Y'all made the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph as your quarterback. What are you going to do with a Russell Wilson who, even though he's no longer in his prime, is a much bigger improvement? I get he's 35, but you have a defense ready to compete now. You have a top 1,000-yard running back, and you have great weapons at receiver. Your draft needs to be offensive line focused. That's it. Get him an offensive line, and I mean this. So long as Pittsburgh's offensive line stays upright and has at least a decent season, the Steelers are a Super Bowl contender with Russell Wilson. I said it was a good move last week. I called it last week. I called it. Russell Wilson's the Steelers. This is an A-plus move for Pittsburgh. I think Mason Rudolph's on the way out now. I don't think he'll be back because, the quarterback room's too loaded. You have Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson now. There's no room for Rudolph anymore. Rudolph will go be a backup somewhere else, and he's earned that right. But I think this is a true A+++. Pittsburgh nailed this one. For a league minimum, while Denver flips the bill, and they're paying him all that money, and let's say Russ goes out there and is terrible. Let's say he's Ryan Leaf bad. Okay? Who cares? He's on a league
I don't think
minimum.
no one can be that bad.
Well, let's say he is. Who cares? 1 year league minimum. Oh well, we still got Kenny Pickett. There's no risk here for Pittsburgh. A+. Yes. Good job to the Roonies. Good job to Mike Tomlin. They nailed this one, in my opinion.
I do agree. It is a really good pickup because if we don't sign someone in the free agents, we'll probably try to trade for one. Like I said, Justin Fields was in the mix, and probably like someone else was also in the mix as well. Honestly, I wish we would at least get someone younger and sign for like 4-5 year deal or something like that. But with getting the league minimum of $1.21 million, honestly, it's really a big steal, especially for the positions that we need, like linemen, corners, safeties, and probably more of a defensive tackles and defensive ends because Cam Hayward is not in his prime anymore. I think that's his years are coming to an end. So I think it's going to be a just a lay low type deal for him. Say we would need defensive ends. Linebackers, I'm not really too. I'm happy with our linebacker core. It's probably one of the best linebacker core that is in the league right now. Probably someone a little bit. No, I'd say we probably have one of the best linebacker cores in the league, especially with the edge rushers, and especially with all the linebacker or the middle linebackers that we have right now. They're still one of the best linebacker cores, I do believe, in the league. Especially with all the injuries that we had, we still picked up some of probably the best that we can get at that point, and they still play their butts off that year. So yeah, our main focus is probably get a receiver in the free agency. Because since we got rid of Allen Robinson and Patrick Peterson, both really didn't do too much. Patrick Peterson did get an interception, so I mean, he was a little bit of a lock. He did do some pretty good on the defensive side, but he's washed. I mean, he had a fantastic career, but these receivers now are young, quick, fast. I mean, that's what we need. We need young, quick, fast receivers and corners. So so I think it's time for to get a young receiving core or young receiving core and a young corner, especially young and quick, like I said. And Patrick Peterson and Allen Robinson is not that. So
Pittsburgh needs a number 2 besides George Pickens. Deontay Johnson's not the answer. Ever since his charades he had during the season, I ain't got nothing for Johnson. I think Mike Tomlin should have cut him the next day. You sabotaged the team at that point. You're not making effort out there.
nope.
Or he was kind of walking around and not hustling. You can't have that. Pittsburgh needs a number 2 receiver and some O-line help.
So and also with that being said, yes, he has had quite a few years that he kind of redeemed himself because he dropped so many passes. So many passes. I mean, it's not even funny how many drop passes that he's had. Some of them that really irritated me so much because it's easy. It was an easy touchdown. It was an easy catch. All you had to do was this and run and touchdown. No, but literally the next few plays later, all of a sudden you're freaking Odell Beckham Jr. catching one-handed catches, like, but you can't make a simple catch. Like whatever. It's like that. That's what irritated me for him in his past years. But he has redeemed himself. But for him
That was
being,
impressive.
it was, and
Well,
especially him being improving in the receiver side. But it's time for him to go. I don't like him. I don't. I think he should be a free agent. We should have just released him as well with Allen Robinson, because I feel like he's just like a Chase Claypool in this type of type of way. Um, he's one of the part of the poison for our receiver core, especially when one of our defensive captains was in his face, Minka Fitzpatrick, telling him to get his act together. So for a defensive player saying that, like, come on, like
too
we sh-
many off the field distractions for not enough production. What I was saying
exactly.
was impressive though. You went like that. That was even good form showing the people. You were doing the diamond technique and everything. Good work, JB.
I mean, I was a receiver,
I was as well, among other things.
but I mean, when I'm looking at the um, receivers that there is a lot of good receivers in a free agency right now. So Marquise Brown, good one. Calvin Ridley, a good one. Darnell Mooney. And yes, I said Darnell Mooney. He is a really good receiver. He was a really good receiver for the Bears. He was really, really good for the Bears.
And that's with Justin Fields' horrible decision making and reading the defense.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Odell Beckham Jr.
You know, this is casual talk, so we can. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is one of the most overrated players in NFL history.
It is. But for all this, for the stats and everything that everything in general, I mean, he's way better than Deontay Johnson. I could tell you that for sure. He's a great number. Odell Beckham Jr. is a great number 2 receiver. I don't think he's not a number 1 anymore. He is a great number 2 receiver. I mean, if you think George Pickens on one side, Odell Beckham Jr. on the other side. I mean, Tyler Boyd is also a good one. And I'm not going to say Michael Thomas. No, Michael Thomas is a no-go.
Too many injuries.
Too many injuries. He hasn't had one full season. So I'm going to say stay away from Michael Thomas.
I would say, here's why I say Odell's one of the most overrated players. He has around 7,000 total career receiving yards. Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2019, before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Driver, who was a great Packer, but was never considered a legend or one of the most popular players in the league. Donald Driver has around 3,000 more receiving yards for his career than Odell Beckham Jr. is. That's why I say Odell's overrated. Odell, the last couple years, last year 565 receiving yards. Years before that, listen to this. Less than 600 yards with LA and Cleveland combined in 2021, and in 2020, 319. He's always injured.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's overrated, injury prone. You take that one spectacular one-hand grab he had. He's a mediocre receiver.
I mean, I do agree to a certain extent. I mean, last year was probably his first year that he really didn't have a major injury. Like he did really well with the Los Angeles Rams. He did. He caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So, and then he was really good during the regular season. I mean, he really never got injured during that season either. The only time he really got injured was in the Super Bowl. So, and then he was on pace to be to have a fantastic stat line in the Super Bowl because he was going off that game, but he got injured, but I mean, Odell, to me, he's a great receiver because he'll get other people or get other receivers open because when everyone thinks Odell Beckham Jr., like he can go off at any point, like any point in time. I can get like almost 200, probably almost 200 yards a game, possibly if he doesn't get double teamed or triple teamed or something like that. Because I mean, defensive coaches know and defensive players know that he can go off at any point. So that's why I say he's a great number 2 receiver. Because if George Pickens is double teamed and then Odell Beckham Jr. is wide open or is open, I mean it's going to be, and especially for Russell Wilson, to have those two on either side. I mean, I'm just saying, give also Odell a few $5 million contract, 2-year deal. I don't know. I'm just throwing out random numbers. I mean that'd be a good thing in my head. I mean, it's a good, because I'm looking at the others. Donovan Peoples-Jones is also one of them as well. Marquise Valdes-Scantling, even though he got released, he can't catch the ball either, but he is quick.
No.
He is quick though, but he can't catch the ball worth crap.
No, speaking from experience. Experience.
Oh, I know. I see it. DJ Chark is pretty decent. Curtis Samuel is also good, and like I already said, Tyler Boyd. Like the rest of those that I've mentioned, I mean, I think either Brown, Ridley, Mooney, or Beckham. Those are probably my 4 receivers that at least I would try to pick up and get rid of Deontay Johnson. I want Deontay Johnson out. I want him gone a while ago, and he is still here. Like, why is he still here? I don't get it. But I mean,
rumors were there were some trade talks going on, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I say release Deontay Johnson. Either get one of those 4 that I mentioned because those 4 are 10 times better than what Deontay Johnson is, especially Odell Beckham Jr. and Calvin Ridley. Okay, because Calvin Ridley had a fantastic year last year. So, with that being said, yeah, either get one of those 4 as receiver, and then you got, like I said, either of those 4, getting those 4 side to side or one side and the other side with everything. With Russell Wilson in that mix, you have a great running back core. I mean, what I don't know what else you can, I don't know who else you want. And then also we're going to the corners. Because I did mention that we got released Patrick Peterson. There's really not much good lockdown corners. You got Stephon Gilmore. He's still a really good corner. Kendall Fuller is also a good one. We had Steven Nelson before, and he was okay. I really don't think he's not that much of a lockdown corner anymore. Adoree Jackson, he's a good one. Kenny Moore the second, he's pretty good. I really do believe that's really it. Oh, Rocky Sin, he's young and he's quick, but he's not really that much of a lockdown. I mean, we did release a safety as well. The only one that really is coming to my mind right now is either quite a few. Cameron Curl, CJ Gardner Johnson, Jeremy Chin, Micah Hyde. I mean, Terrell Edmonds is okay. And Ryan Neal. Those are quite a few people as well. I think that would be a good fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense as well.
Dang, JB with a deep breakdown of free agency. That was impressive, my friend. That was impressive. That was a good casual talk. We were all over the place there. We were all over the place. That's what we like to see. We went from Russell Wilson to the Steelers receivers to Odell Beckham Jr. So that's what we like to see on Casual Talk. Flip things up, JB. We're going to move on from Casual Talk and move on to, again, more free agency news. JB, the Atlanta Falcons signed quarterback Kirk Cousins. And the Philadelphia Eagles signed running back Saquon Barkley, going to a division rival, JB. What are your thoughts on those 2 moves? Pretty big moves.
Well, for Kirk Cousins, he's got the bag. He's finally... And I think, to me, it is one of probably the best things that Falcons has ever had in a while. Oh, excuse me. In a while. Because honestly, if you think of Falcons quarterbacks of the past few years, who were they?
The last good one was Matt Ryan.
Exactly. And how long was that? And they're in the choke of the Super Bowl. Like, honestly, Kirk Cousins can probably get you to the Super Bowl. Not gonna lie. Mm-hmm.
Really? JB thinks Kirk Cousins?
I mean, Kirk Cousins about did it one year. He went to the NFC Championship. So,
Did they? Was Kirk? I don't think Kirk Cousins was a Viking yet, was he?
well, let me see. I do believe so.
I don't believe so. He's known for playoff failure.
I mean, well, he failed that one year.
Well, he fails every year. Here's the thing with Kirk Cousins. So let's look at the stats. Kirk Cousins last season, in the injury-ridden season, so mind you, had 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2,331 yards, QBR 103.8. He's always had good stats. Year before that, 29 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. Year before that, 33 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. Multiple Pro Bowl quarterback. He's a really good quarterback.
Oh, my fault.
Here's the
It
problem.
was, and I was thinking the 2020 year. He just went to the divisional round, but so that is my fault when he played San Francisco against San Francisco.
Kirk Cousins is pretty much Dak Prescott. They'll get you to the playoffs, keep you competitive, but when it comes down to the playoff time, you need your quarterback to win a big game. They're not going to do it. They will fail every time. And Kirk Cousins is no different. Is this an upgrade? Yes, it is. However, a Kirk Cousins who's in his mid-30s, coming off a major injury, a 4-year deal is a pretty long commitment. I wouldn't go that long. I think it's definitely an improvement from what they had last year, which
And
was
the year
what?
before that.
Desmond,
And the year before that.
what you had last year, Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke, and they were still in the division race late into the season. I think it's a good move for Atlanta. They have good weapons, and they have Bijan Robinson, they have Kyle Pitts, they have Drake London, so they have plenty of talented players. Here's the problem: Drake London's kind of been a disappointment his whole career. So's Kyle Pitts. Kirk Cousins has been an elite regular season quarterback his whole career. So I think we should see Atlanta compete in the regular season a little more. They're not going to win any playoff games. Kirk Cousins is the quarterback. And they got plenty of offensive weapons. And Baker Mayfield just signed. Baker Mayfield, Tom Brady Jr. He just signed back with Tampa Bay. So now you got Baker and Mike Evans re-signed in Tampa. Derek Carr in New Orleans. They won. They had a winning record too. Missed the playoffs. And now you have Kirk Cousins with all those weapons in Atlanta. That's going to be a more competitive division this year. I'm excited to see what the NFC South has.
Mm-hmm. And then also, if you want to think about it, do you think the reason why that the receivers for Atlanta and the tight ends had horrible stats because of the quarterback?
Maybe. However,
I mean, if you putting Kirk Cousins in that mix, and like I said, like even though he has a terrible record of 1-4 right now. But if you think about it, on January 15th of 2023, and when he played the New York Giants, he actually played really, really well that year, or that game. He went 31 for 39, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interception with 273 yards. And his rating was 112.9. So, I mean, if we look at that type of those stat lines, I mean, I'm looking at he's doing pretty good in the playoffs, because he has 5 touchdowns and 1 interception in the playoffs, and to me, I do believe, I mean, with the young players that he has around him, I think they could truly be really good, especially with Kirk Cousins as the quarterback. Even though he's coming off a massive injury, I do believe it's going to be a great comeback for him and for the Atlanta Falcons. With everything being said, I do believe if they have the right players and the right mindset, I do believe Kirk Cousins can possibly push them into this is a big hard take, possibly the Super Bowl, but probably to a big run. And especially he signed, how many years was it? 4 years?
yes.
4-year, 180 million. So, yes, 4 years to turn that team around. And I do believe that's plenty of time to get them to come back. So, I mean, he can bring him back into like a massive playoff run. Yep, great. I want to say he's a great quarterback, but he's put up some pretty amazing numbers throughout the years when he was a Viking.
Kirk Cousins is one playoff run away from possibly being a Hall of Fame quarterback. What
Hmm.
makes Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford any different? Matthew Stafford couldn't get it done with the Lions. He
Mm-mm.
had that one big playoff push with the Rams, and he's a Super Bowl champion now. He made the playoffs last year, too. So, that changed the narrative. You can always change the narrative. At one point, Peyton Manning was known as a playoff choker. Now he's not. So, you can always change that narrative.
Hmm.
I don't think Kirk Cousins will. I think it is what you see. They'll maybe get in the playoffs, lose first game. I like that you have the opposite take though. History always repeats itself. I can't believe in Kirk Cousins, who's in his mid-30s, coming off in a key off of a major injury. That's just hard to do. It's hard to do.
I mean, if you think about it, Matthew Stafford also had quite a few massive injuries as well during his early career as a Detroit Lion. And yes, I mean, there's a few years that actually progressed when he got traded to, he signed with the Rams and won the Super Bowl that year. Um, I mean, with everything else, I mean, history do kind of repeats itself, but I mean, history does change quite a bit.
It
So
does. It
So
does.
I'm giving Kirk Cousins the benefit of the doubt because I do believe he has the numbers. He has everything in his favor. It's just I do believe the Falcons need a defense. They got great receivers. They got a great offense, young offense. Um I just think that their defense is where they're lacking right now. And I do believe that if they get their defense somewhat squared away, then it is a long playoff run for for the Falcons and Kirk Cousins. I think do believe
Oh,
if the Falcons get a great defense in these 4 years that he's signed with, I do believe I do believe if Kirk Cousins does the exact same way that he's been playing for the past few years with the Minnesota Vikings, I do believe that he's going to have a really great year, great 4 years as a Falcon.
here's the good news for your take. I'll end on this. The Falcons hire a defensive coach, so
Mm-hmm.
and they'll likely they should get that defense squared away defensive coach. Now, where I'm going to shift my attention to is Saquon Barkley to the
Saquon
Eagles. Wow.
Barkley.
And I actually don't like this move by the Eagles. I don't think it's a good signing. You let DeAndre Swift go to the Bears. DeAndre Swift last year had an 1,000-yard season, 1,049 receiving yards, on top of another 1,049 rushing yards with 214 receiving yards. So an 1,000-yard runner last year played 16 of 17 games. That's good. Let's look at Saquon Barkley. Look, 962 yards. He was on my fantasy team. Trust me, I felt it. He's only had one 1,000-yard season since 2019. 3 of the last 4 seasons have been injury-ridden and under 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Injury-ridden. Take that one 2022 where he had 1,312 yards and 10 touchdowns. He hasn't done anything since 2019. He's been injured the entire time. He's getting older. He's 27. So he only has, probably 3 more good years in him at best. At best. Only 1,000-yard season. Injury-ridden. You already had an 1,000-yard back from last year in your backfield. You let him walk out the door. I think not the Giants, excuse me. I think the Eagles signed a big name. DeAndre Swift is not as big a name as Saquon Barkley. But if you're looking at productivity, I just gave you the numbers. I'm not as impressed with that signing from Philly as I am the rest of them. I think it's a big name. I don't think it's as much production. compared to the name. It's kind of like Odell Beckham Jr. to a point.
Mhm.
I'm just not super impressed. I give that one a D minus.
I mean, I want to say that it's probably just like you said. It's a big name. You're releasing a young. I want to say like a young, but a really good um, running back. You release a really good young quarter or running back, and you signed a mediocre injury prone uh with a $37.75 million deal with a 26 million guaranteed. Um,
Now, I would one's mediocre. He's great when he's out there. He is. He's a
oh
top
yeah,
running back.
but
But
what was I gonna
historically, he gets hurt.
what was I gonna say? DeAndre Swift fits that offensive scheme. I don't think Saquon Barkley does not fit the Philadelphia Eagles offensive scheme, and especially with Jason Kelsey retiring, that's definitely a big change in that offensive scheme. So, I mean, unless something happens and they change the scheme randomly, then excuse me, unless they change the scheme that involves him around, because you got what you got AJ Brown, oh, who else? I don't.
Now they have. Now they have Saquon Barkley. Obviously, you have
Yep.
now. You still have Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelsey retired, Fletcher Cox retired. They've lost some free agents as well.
So yeah, I mean, you got a lot of great weapons. Um, Devontae Smith as well with
Right,
AJ Brown, and I do believe even though I think I'm not. Don't quote me on this. Actually, I'm gonna look.
While you do that, I'll wrap my final point on the Saquon Barkley thing up.
Okay, so he's still Julio Jones is still a Philadelphia Eagle.
Really?
Actually, wait, hold on. Hold on. Stand by. God dang it. Wrong thing. I cannot find the article. Anyways, what you were saying while I'm still trying to find this.
I was just want to say that they've lost a lot of veteran leadership. Jalen Hurts had an off year, sort of. A lot of people say I don't think he did. So I think Philadelphia actually may regress quite a bit, depending on Saquon Barkley's health. I think they're putting a lot of eggs into an injured running back's basket. Because yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. You had a 1,000-yard running back with no injury history, who's 25 years old, and you replace him with a person who had less rushing yards last year and is older and is known for injuries. Just not a very wise move, in my opinion. They
No.
lost 2 veteran players as well. I would be slightly concerned if I were Eagles fans right now.
Yeah. I mean, if all and also with all the articles that I'm seeing right now, Julio Jones is still a Philadelphia Eagle. So take that as you will. I mean, he's still a great target. He's still, want to say, probably a great weapon.
He's washed.
He is washed. Probably for like once in a while, you could probably target him. But
Yeah. Unfortunately, me and you grew up in the era where he was coming up. He was an elite receiver at one point. It's over for him.
mm-hmm. But yeah, with the Barkley signing, I mean, you got a good power back and also a good receiving back as well. I don't want to take that out of proportion. He is a great receiving back. But yeah, I do believe signing like a big name, is just to be out there. But I mean, we'll see.
I think
We'll see what happens
think
with this.
I think it's actually a really good. I disagree. I think it's actually a good offensive scheme because he is versatile in the meaning that he can run and catch.
Hmm.
Jalen Hurts is a dual threat. They have those two receivers out there. If Barkley can stay healthy, they'll be great. Problem is he's not known to be healthy. That's my concern. And you had a good running back who was also versatile in receiving and running as well with Swift. So he's younger. So that's my point. I don't just look for names. Barkley will be great if he can be healthy. I'll say that, but don't rely on that.
Yep, and I do agree with you there. He's great when he's healthy. So unless he stays healthy this season, then yes, this signing was a huge deal, a huge, massive W. But if he doesn't stay healthy, it's a horrible decision, especially for a lot of money.
Right. Now, it's a big risk, and they could really reap the reward because Philly's known for going big or going home. I mean, they've moved off of championship quarterbacks before. Nick
Mhm.
Foles won a Super Bowl. Get out. Carson Wentz
Next year.
was playing really good before his injury. Get out. They'll move Andy Reid. You're fired. They'll move on from people.
Yep.
They really will. So they'll move on from Barkley if it doesn't work out. But the reward for him, I mean, as a defense, how do you guard Devontae, like you said, Smith? You have A.J. Brown. Now you have Barkley if healthy, and Jalen Hurts can throw and run. It's hard to guard as a defense. But you got to watch some injuries, man.
Yep.
With that, me and JB have wrapped up free agent coverage on our podcast today. Me and JB are going to move on to basketball now. Me and JB talked for the podcast. We think it would be very unfair to basketball and be disrespectful to the sport if they were in the middle of their season, and we didn't even bring it up once. Because JB, Purdue, well, I'll bring it up again, JB, they wrapped up the regular season defeating Wisconsin on senior night, 78-70. JB, they had a couple injury scares. I watched that game. Braden Smith went down, went to the locker room. He ended up coming back. Zach Edey was shaken up slightly. Neither one of them missed the rest of the game, so no long-term injuries. JB, Purdue is now in the top 25, number 3 in the country, and that is a final pending. Do you think Purdue wins the Big Ten tournament this year?
I sure hope so. Like you said before, history repeats itself.
Well, we've won many Big Ten tournaments. We've won many Big Ten tournaments under Matt Painter. We've won before.
Oh, I know.
It's the March. It's the March that we choke.
And it's coming. Like I said, March Madness is coming, and we are back-to-back Big Ten champions.
In the regular season.
In the regular season, so we're back to back. You know. Yay! Congratulations! No one cares. No one cares. Okay. It is like this participation trophy that the NBA is doing. Like, congratulations! Like you won the regular season. Get out of here.
The NBA Cup.
Yeah, and this basically is the same way as the college. Like, honestly, if you think about it, it's exactly the same thing. So once again, we're like back-to-back Big Ten champions. Guess what? No one cares. You know what everyone cares about? March Madness. Can you win it all? And I'm going to say, no. We're not going to win it all. Because you know why? History repeats itself. Matt Painter is done for. He's done. He's gone. He's gone. Yes, we had a lot of regular season success with Matt Painter. Yes, but what has he done in the playoffs? We're calling it playoffs because it is like kind of like the playoffs, but in a bracket form. But what has he done? He's done nothing. Literally,
Not a damn thing.
nothing. Probably won like 2 games, but that's it. That is literally it. That's not even getting to like the Sweet 16.
He's never been to the Final Four. Not Matt Painter.
No. So it's either win it all or go home. Honestly, with this team that we have, it's a lot better. This is a 10 times better team than last year.
Yes.
A lot better than last year. And you think that if we stick it together, and like I'm looking at stats with the Wisconsin game, Edey 25 points, Smith with 10, Lawyer with 15, Jones with 13. Our bench didn't do barely diddly squat, but I mean we barely played we played everybody. Like I said, it was senior night, so all the seniors had to play at one point. But I mean, you're looking at all the random starters. Kaufman barely did anything. He went 2 for 4, but he only played like 15 minutes. Because I do believe he's only a sophomore. So I mean, he only went out. So he was in and out for quite a bit. So we can let our seniors play. And which I do get. But with everything else, I mean, our offense needs to be a lot better, especially coming into March Madness. Especially the first round, which we suck at. We lose to a New Jersey team that we never even heard of last year. I'm like, and in the year before that, and when we were in, team that I didn't even heard of, once again, beat us. It's like I said, it's win it all or go home for Matt Painter, because I don't think we can't get another big center like Zach Edey is. I don't think we're gonna get another unless our guards are gonna come back. I don't know if Smith, Lawyer, Jones are gonna come back. Kaufman is going to be here for probably another year or so. But I don't think all of our guards are not going to be here as well. So it's either win it all or go home. I'm tired of seeing, well, Matt Painter's done this and this and this. No. What has he done in the March Madness? Diddly squat. I am tired of seeing Purdue being so dominant in the regular season, and then we choke first or second round in the March Madness. I'm tired of it. I mean, we've had so many great teams throughout many years, and what have we accomplished? Nothing. Literally nothing. Not even a Sweet 16, not a Elite 8, not even a Final Four.
We've been to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 a couple times.
It's not my point. It's been a while since we went to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8. It's been a while. It's been far too long. I think we should have went to the Elite 8 or the Final Four last year.
We should have won it all then. We lost first round.
Yep. So with that, everything being said, win it all or go home.
So I worded that topic perfectly because it was, will Purdue win the Big Ten tournament? And JB, it sounds like, doesn't even want to talk about the Big Ten tournament. And I actually agree with you. We've seen Purdue win the Big Ten in the regular season. We've seen Purdue win the Big Ten tournament. Great. Who cares? Great. And it's an accomplishment. It is. But it means nothing if you cannot win the national championship. It has to be won. Now, yes, Purdue's going to win the Big Ten tournament. They should. There's absolutely no excuse we can't win the Big Ten tournament when we're expected to win the entire thing. There's a lot of pressure on Purdue in the Big Ten tournament, but there's more pressure in the tournament. March Madness. We need to get into March Madness. Big Ten tournament, I'll be rooting for them. I'll be happy if they win. But I'm ready for March to get here. Matt Painter, and like you said, he needs to win or I'm going to say, get the fuck out. We've had Etwan Moore, Robbie Hummel, Jawan Johnson, Chris Kramer, Jaden Ivey, Caleb Swanigan, rest in peace, and now Zach Edey. And I'm probably missing many more players in our history.
Many more.
And that's on top of my head. And we have no national titles to prove it with all of those players I just said. And now is the time. And Matt Painter coached all of those players. Every one of them.
Yep.
Braden Smith is averaging 7.4 assists a game for us right now. He is one of the best passing guards in the Big Ten in the country. He might not be back, like you said. I'm not sure his draft status. Zach Edey is declared for the draft already. Now or never. Now or never. We're not going to find a better team than Purdue has now. It's not going to happen.
Nope.
So this is the final straw. For me. Last year was for me. I seen enough last year. Go back to our podcast early days. I was saying fire Matt Painter then when we lost last year. My sanity can't take it again.
I can't either, and it's very, very sickening. I mean, seeing all this great success as Purdue had for the past 5 years. 5 years. I'm just going
Even longer than that.
Well, way longer than that. But I mean, for the amount of time that we had great years, so that's why I'm going back 5 years. Like, what else do we need? Like, this is the best team out of all the years. I do believe when we went to the Elite Eight, I think this team's better than when we had them when we were in the Elite Eight.
It is.
It is. It's 100% better. So you're telling me that if our team last year didn't even make it past the first round, and for that all that caliber and everything, we didn't even we were supposed to win it all that year. Because I mean, look at all the teams that play that look at the team that actually won it all. Guess what? They weren't even. I wanted to say they probably compared a little bit more. I mean, we probably would have won against them, honestly. But no, we lost the first round all because of Painter. He's gone. He's gone. After this year, if we don't win it all, he's gone. He is gone.
Has to be. There's no other option. But that's all me and JB have for today's Unbiased Hard Take. JB, we talked about a lot today, mainly NFL free agency coverage, a little bit of basketball. What's your last take, JB? What you got for the people?
Like I said before on our last take, either big or go home. Go big, win it all or go home for Painter. Lot like and with this, all the NFL breaking news and everything, it's gonna be another weird season. Like last year, it was a weird season, especially in the offseason. This year is repeating itself. I mean, Russell Wilson a Steeler, Josh Jacobs a Packer, Xavier McKinney is a Packer as well. And also we signed the punter. Steelers signed Texans punter Cameron Johnston, so he's a Steeler. So I mean, there's a lot of things happening in the free agency. Barkley's an Eagle. Kirk Cousins is a Falcon. Like so many things. And Brian Burns signed with the Giants, even though I do believe that they signed. Brian Burns did sign with the Giants. I think. I don't know. I thought I seen something on that, but don't quote me on it.
You are correct. Well, yeah, he's with the Giants now.
So yeah, a lot of things. And Gardner Minshew signed with the Raiders, $25 million. And like you said before, Baker Mayfield re-signed with Tampa Bay Buccaneers with $100 million. Like, there's a lot of things. Oh, and Eckler did sign. I said this before. Is speculating to sign. They did sign. Austin Eckler did sign with the Washington Commanders. 2 years, $11.43 million. And Tony Pollard signed with the Tennessee Titans. So a lot of things happening around NFL already. And it's just the beginning. It's not even the 13th yet. It's not even the 13th yet. And it's already crazy. So, I mean, that's all I got.
I'll say this: like, subscribe, hit the bell, like us on Facebook, check out the Sports Fact of the Day. My final take: this was going to be a podcast topic before all the NFL breaking news. I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. I'm not going to hide from it. The Miami Heat lost to the Washington freaking Wizards, and with that, we are now the 8th seed instead of the 6th seed because we can't beat the worst team in the league. So, a little frustrating there. Jimmy Butler went for a 3-pointer instead of going for the 2. And went for the win. I like the balls. I like that. I like the guts. But you got to beat the Wizards. You got to win these games you're supposed to win. Come on, guys. We're slumping a little bit right now. 2 games lost in a row. We blew a lead against the Thunder. A halftime lead of 10 points that we had. So, pick it up. Let's not drop in the standings. It's not too late. It's only 2 games. Don't freak out. But you got to do better. You got to beat the Wizards, man. Come on. Almost playoff time. Come on, guys. Let's get out of that play-in. All I got. And as always, go Pat, go. Let's go Heat. Blow it up, baby.
And yeah, I'm going to end off with that. We're ending off with this. Until you see you next week on the Unbiased Hard Take. Once again, let's go Heat. Let's go Purdue. And let's go Steelers. Until next week.
See y'all next week.